Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Mission Driven Made podcast. This is your host and founder of the Mission Driven Made movement and brand, Jacob Straub. And of course, welcome back to another episode of the Friday Debrief. If you are new today and tuning in for the first time, what we do here at Mission Driven Made is equip and empower you to lead a high achieving and mission driven life. And guys, I am really excited. Have a little surprise for you today. About a week ago or so, I asked a bunch of you if you would like there to be a guest co-host on the show from time to time. Like I said, I'm really excited for the first guest co-host we have, my brother-in-law, Andy McDonald. So really excited, guys. If you remember, he actually did one of the Friday debrief episodes a few weeks ago when my wife was sick. And in the hospital. So Andy is back. I know you guys loved him, so I'm really excited that he is here today. What is up, brother?
What's going on, man? It's an honor to be back here. I had the opportunity to speak on your podcast by myself. I didn't know if I'd get back, and it's a blessing to be here. So thanks for asking me, and I'm excited to chat with you.
And dude, I already know I'm gonna have to do my best not to ask you like all the time, because I can't steal you away from your own brand and your family and all that, but like, I'm really pumped that like you're here and we get to do this. It's legit.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, I will probably come on as many times as you ask me. So,
oh my gosh, will my sister be mad at me?
But yeah, but she'll be mad at us. So we can split the guilt.
You know what?
50-50 it.
That's the thing. Like, as long as she's mad at us and we're like a unit against her, then it's fine. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's power in numbers.
Exactly. So dude, let's kick this off by just tell everyone that didn't hear you a couple weeks ago, do a short elevator pitch of who you are, 10, 15 seconds, just so people know, what you're all doing.
Andy McDonald is my last name. I am Jake's brother-in-law, married to your sister, Allie. Fortunately, we've been married for about 4 years. Live in the Bay Area, originally from Paradise, California, which people probably don't know until 2018 when the whole town burnt down. So that's a weird way of introducing it, but that's where I'm from. Been in the Bay Area for about 6 years now, and it's been an interesting ride. And I also have a podcast with my brother, Micah, sports related. Raider Take podcast is what it is. I didn't mean to plug it that way. Apologies, but it's kind of
do it.
But yeah, been fortunate enough to have a relationship with you for the last 7 years. And as I talked about on the podcast, it's been really cool to see the growth of this platform and what you're doing for everyone. So
thank you, dude. That's awesome of you to say. And please plug your podcast. I'll probably plug it 5 times throughout the 20 or 30 minutes we're talking here. Mm-hmm. Guys, the Raider Take podcast. And no, this is not because I'm just really biased or anything, but it's legitimately the best NFL podcast that there is. Like him and Micah, it's not just the way they talk about the Raiders, their knowledge base about the Raiders. You would think you're listening to someone that works for the NFL, one of the paid commentators. It's insane. I literally love your guys' podcast. So guys, I'm going to definitely link it after the show for you guys to listen to. But for all you Raider fans out there, and I know some of you hate the Raiders, but the Raiders fans that are out there are hardcore because that's the only way that it is with the Raiders. Make sure you check out their podcast. Did you guys have a new one this week? I actually haven't checked.
Yeah, we did. I think it just got released. So, we've been doing it for about a year. Mike and we talked so much about it to where one day he just said, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" And I'm like, I don't really, as much as it seems like it's the case that I want people to hear what I have to say, I really didn't care for social media. And similar to you, right? It was social media was interesting as far as promoting yourself and things like that. So, no, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride. And, obviously with what you have going on here, we've been able to share ideas and kind of learn how to do this whole business. So
dude, social media at first, man, if I can be honest, like before I started Mission Driven Made, I don't know if despised would be the correct word, but I couldn't look past just thinking social media in general is very narcissistic and sleazy and all these other things. And was actually pleasantly surprised. Like, yes, all that stuff does exist in social media, but it actually is a cool tool to use if you use it quote unquote correctly, whatever the heck that means. But like it can be used for good. I think. I don't know if you've felt similar since you use it sometimes or what, but
Yeah, I think what we've realized over the last couple of years is that we think very similarly and we're wired the same. So yeah, I looked at it as kind of narcissistic and fake, and that's a
fake,
terrible thing to say, right? But it's like that's just how I looked at it. But it's kind of like with anything, it's like the other side of the coin could be cool and could be really something that provides a lot of good. And I think that's what I've been able to realize, even though it was hard at first. Did
you just start feeling that way recently, or is this like more toward when you guys started Rate or Take?
Honestly, it was probably the podcast is what did it for me, because when you have social media, it's like you can look at it a certain way and then use it for whatever you want to use it for. And as long as you're like, well, that's what I do, right? But then when you have to go promote, hey, you guys should listen to what I have to say about how the Raiders handle third down situations. It's like, I don't know who would actually want to hear that. So you kind of have to, in a sense, get over yourself and realize that there's a lot of good that can come from it, and it can be cool. So
third and Renfro, right?
Third and Renfro. That's what we live by. So
I love that guy. He's great. So I'm going to just keep talking about the Raiders. So
I know
I could for hours about the Raiders, but let's move into today's topic, which I was really excited to bring up. And as I said offline to you a little bit ago, I really just thought about this. I think it was this morning. I got inspired. I was listening to a podcast. If you guys know who Ryan Mickler is, it's called the Order of Man podcast, another great podcast. And the topic, I don't feel like I've really heard anyone talk about this. So it kind of inspired me to talk about it. I feel like we have a great conversation about it. And the topic for today that we're going to go over is escaping the what if mentality. Now, what I mean by that, so every human on the planet has done this at some point, but we all know the people that probably do it more than others. So the what if mentality is the people that wake up every day. It might not be very happy with their life, might do their 9-to-5 job that they don't like, or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a 9-to-5 job, and it's just kind of like rinse and repeat every day and kind of feel miserable and just go through life. And they have the mentality of, what if I pursued this new career, or what if I pursued this new endeavor, or what if I moved to the state that I always wanted to live? So that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I feel like it's really important. And I don't feel like I've heard people really bring that up too much. Have you heard this topic too much on podcasts or in books or anything like that?
No, I honestly, I haven't. I think it's been referenced, and I do listen to other podcasts as well in an assortment of different industries. But it's something that's always referenced, but not really centered on. And I think when you go through life, or when you go, with your, whether it's your girlfriend or your wife or whoever, your partner, and you start talking about those things, because it's funny when you say that of the what if, and you're thinking future. What if I do this? I always categorize it as, what if this happened, right? The past. And I think both are applicable, right, in a sense. And I think both have different avenues of, thought, logic, and things like that, right, where you could go and to what your point is. So I think it's interesting that that's what I first thought when you brought it up beforehand. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, and I think it's very relatable and also very impactful.
So what do you think? Well, let's try to unpack this a little bit. What is the reasons behind, maybe the psychology, why people do that? Because this is I feel pretty confident saying 99% of people do this all the time. So what is it that stops people from, I want to pursue a new job, or I want to pursue something that I actually care about, or like I said a few minutes ago, moving to a new state, whatever it is. What do you think the reason is behind that?
Can I pause for a second? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to send this text out, and I just realized I did.
Oh, you're good. I'll edit this out. You're good.
I can explain it later. I'm so sorry, but I realized
you're good.
Time sensitive.
Elon Musk is like, you're fired.
Well, it's not even work, it's church based. So, um,
Dude, it's good you didn't go to Cannon Ridge. You would have been a full-time employee like me that wasn't paid.
right. Okay. Guys, sorry for the wait. We have someone in our church that has cancer, and so we have the men go and pray
Right.
for her, and
Yeah.
someone reached out to me today, and I'm the one that sends out the text to get the guys to go, basically. So anyways, sorry about that.
You're good.
Can you I understood your question, but if you want to repeat it, you can do that.
Yeah. So what is it, do you think, and I thought about this a lot today, what is it that causes people to have this what if mentality and prevents them from pursuing that new career or that new endeavor or whatever that big thing is? What is holding people back?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think there's a lot that goes into it, and really I think it's the comfortability factor is what I think of first, right? It's when you are comfortable in something and it might not meet certain levels of happiness or excitement or whatever that truly align to who you are, then it's easy to think, well, what if I do this and what if I do that? And I unfortunately, I'm wired to look at things pretty black and white, and so when you think of what if I go do this, or what if I go pursue this, there's always the, are you sure? Like, should I, or whatever, the hesitancy. But I think people get bogged up with that because it's exciting, right? So if you think about future state, what if, there's a lot of excitement of, oh, this is cool, and this could be that, and you talk about it and you obsess over it, and then what do you end up doing? Probably nothing.
Nothing most of the time.
Exactly. And then like I was saying, from how I've always looked at it is like, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if it went this way? And maybe it's how I was raised or what I was exposed to, but pretty early on in my life, it's like, it already happened and it doesn't matter. So why would you even use energy or your time and to obsess over things? Because I think as humans it's kind of it ties into a victim mentality in a sense, right? Where you want to feel bad that something happened to you, when even if you are if you truly want to be in total control over what the results of your life are, things can still happen negatively. And it's unfortunately, you kind of have to categorize it as controllables versus uncontrollables, so I think there's an exciting way to look at it where you're like, well, what if I did this, or what if we, and this is very relevant in my life with with my wife, your sister, where we're talking about where do we want to live, what if we did this and what if we did that, but then you don't do anything, because then you start going down the levels of guilt and, well, is it just about us, or is it, whatever it is, right? It's like, we don't want to make decisions. So I think there's so much to it that it's really cool that you're talking about it, and it's a fascinating topic, honestly.
And I feel like, the way you were just describing about where you and Allie would live, like, I feel like you guys have like outweighed pros and cons type of thing. Like, it doesn't seem completely as though it's coming from like a fear of failure or something going completely wrong. It just, your situation probably makes sense to do what you guys, are doing. But I do wonder though, is it the cliche, like fearing failure and fearing the unknown? Like, is that really the reason people don't take action and pursue whatever that thing is? Is it the unknown, or this is going to sound kind of bad, but, or is it like can it be a laziness thing? Like, people don't want to put the work into to go, like, I'm not sure what it is, but I just really don't feel that we were put here for safety and comfort all the time, and not taking some action. I feel like we were kind of built for that. I mean, I'm not saying go be, burn the ships with everything you do, but like taking calculated risks with things, I don't even see how you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, it's it's funny. It's funny to that because I think there's two sides of it where you look at that it's exciting, right? Of, oh, what if we did this, right? And then there's the, well, if I did that, then this is what would be at risk. And there's the
Yeah.
confidence that's lacking in a sense. And it's really funny because and I apologize, I should have thought about this before, but you had a guest on that you interviewed, and he talked about how he would take cold showers, right? And he always took warm showers because he liked hot and warm showers or whatever, and that was comfortable, right? And it was more
Yep.
so in a sense of challenging his comfortability, because what that does is it allows you to look at things differently, right? So just take it for what it, like, I don't mind saying, I'll be 30 in a week, right? And so it's like I have 29 years, almost 30 years of thinking a certain way, acting a certain way, feeling a certain way, and then you develop a relationship, like I have with my wife. We've been together for about 7 years, so our decision making and how we go about things and how we look at things have been very calculated. I'm proud of that because we don't just fly off the seat of our pants, right? But in a sense, that the way that it's so thorough and so detailed at times doesn't allow us to explore,
Right.
and bet on ourselves, right? And that's kind of it all ties into that confidence. And I really think it comes down to accountability.
Right.
It's are you truly accountable for every situation? So whether it's a result of a situation or what your future and happiness is, are you accountable for that, or are you not? And that's where the black and white comes in for me, how I look at things. And so if you want to bank and blame everyone for your problems and say, what if this happened, or what if I did this, but I'm not going to do it, then what are you doing? It's just a lot of wasted time and energy. So sorry, I could talk about that for a long time. So I'll pause.
And the way I kind of look at it was funny when you were saying like how you guys have been calculating everything. So I think of like me and my wife. So for me, if like I was single and by myself, I would fall on the spectrum more of the burn the ships, like just do it and figure it out no matter what the risk. And my wife, Adeline, as you know, she's a little bit more, I guess, risk adverse. So I guess there's good to have some balance if you're looking on that spectrum. But I do believe, generally speaking, this could probably be, a takeaway for some of the listeners too, is to have a mindset shift about this and realize that most of these actions that you aren't taking, the ones that you think about and dream about but don't follow through with, most things are not permanent. So for example, I heard this one earlier today, like, oh, we want to move to Texas, but we're scared. What about a job? What about if we don't like it there? But when it really comes down to, if we shift our perspective or perception of the whole idea of, say, moving to Texas, it's not permanent. Mm-hmm. You can always go back. And I feel like if we kind of look at these things like that, it doesn't seem like this huge risk anymore and burning the ships. And the worst that could come of it, would be, oh, okay, we don't like it. Well, we will move back, or I didn't find a job, so we're going to move back, or something like that. I feel like that would be a good place to start.
Yeah. And I agree. And you and I actually had a very similar conversation when I saw you last, but I think there's this, you don't lose sleep over going to this, the deli and ordering a turkey sandwich when you maybe wanted roast beef. Right. But if you think about it, like how you're saying is like, I think we make things too complex, and which very grateful to be in a world with so much technology and information to where you can really have a lot of data to back certain decisions, whatever it may be, that if you don't get that job, or you do get this job and then, but you think that commitment is 25 to life, right? It's like, it's not, and it doesn't mean you can't have responsibility or ownership or accountability or anything like that. Right. But you want to weigh it that far to where you don't take that next step, then you're kind of, hurting yourself.
Yeah. 100%. And another point too, that I was thinking about, especially with the listeners on this podcast. So something that we've talked about before is detesting mediocrity. Now, most of us are going to be mediocre at most things for our life, most things, in different facets of life. But I don't feel like just accepting mediocrity because we don't want to take risks, I don't think that's a good thing either. Just accepting mediocrity and being stagnant. I don't think we were built for that.
Yeah. Well, and it, unfortunately, it's just, I won't say I'll say I have been conditioned in a society to where you kind of just fall in line, and you, in a sense, you fall in line to what you're good at and just leverage what you're good at, and then go do that. And that's good because it creates a lot of good, right? It's like, I never thought I would be in this industry that I am, and what it's provided for my family has been amazing, right? That doesn't mean you can't go outside and do things that you're passionate about and fail, right? Or do things that, and because it's always looked at as a judgment, it's always looked at like, oh, well, see, you shouldn't have done that. It's like, why? Like you could go and fall on your face and learn more than not even walking out the door, man. Like, so yeah, I think there's a lot of components to it, but
wouldn't it be cool if we all got to a point where we literally didn't care about what other people thought at all? Like, let's go out there and fail a million times, and who cares what people think? I'm trying to get there, but imagine if that's the world we live in. Everyone just took action and didn't fear judgment or fear failure. That would be pretty cool to see people doing that.
Yeah, it would be. And that's kind of what, I'm sure my wife is probably tired of me saying this, but I'm like, why can't we be in control of our own happiness? And why can't we define what happiness is? And then let's do that. And then it's not based on external. And she's also probably tired of this whole, I call it the postcard theory, right? So you go to Hawaii and you send your family a postcard. We're like, and this is probably dating myself a little bit, but hey, we're having a great time in Hawaii, and you take a picture or whatever, and it looks great. That's what people see. That's social media, and everyone's like, you look great, things are happy and stuff. It's like, that's really not reality at times. Right. And it's more about like, why can't we control that? But it is challenging, because if you are responsible and accountable for your life, then you're not just going to be like, I'm going to do whatever makes me happy, and I don't care who pays for it. That's not for most of us. I feel like everyone has a good heart. So obviously you can tell this resonates with my life.
That would be like the side of the spectrum taking it too far, just the burn the ships, like just destroy everything in your path and people along the way. That would be going a little bit too far with the taking action and taking risks, I think.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, and then, you plugged my podcast and complimented us, so I'm going to compliment you. It's like, that's what I told you earlier, or when I saw you last, is that's why it's cool when, you guys ended up moving from, San Diego to Arizona, where you had family there, where you had support and these things, but you did it for your own good, and you never put that guilt or burden on anyone else. And then also think about your, the podcast and the mission driven made and everything that you're doing. It's like, you're doing it because it inspires you, and that is going to seep out, and everyone's going to feel that more so than just, putting on a button up and a coat and walking into work every day. So that's why I think it's really cool what you're doing, because I think it inspires people whether you know it or not, and because it's authentic, right? And it's truly someone that's doing what they want to do regardless, so.
And you actually said something interesting a second ago, not to shift gears too much, but about finding or creating your own happiness. What is that? What do you think happiness, like, what is that? Because the last couple, I would say, months, I've been thinking about that topic a little bit more, especially the last couple of days. So when you're saying that, what does that mean? Like, creating happiness?
Well, it's, I think for me, I always say we need to be in control of our own happiness, right? And so what that starts with, at least on my end, is you got to define it. What does happiness look like? And what happiness was 5 years ago, for me or for my relationship, whatever, it's just not the same. It's just how you look at priorities, right? It's why you stop, it's like, okay, I'm not meeting my buddies out at the bars on Friday nights because I have a child. It's like just like priorities and decision making, it's also your happiness will shift. And so why don't you, and because I struggle with it and we struggle with it, why can't you just challenge yourself and say, well, what does happiness look like today? And the whole what if theory, right? Like what we're talking about, and that mindset is like, well, what if we did this? And you're always so far in advance in the 6, 12, 18 months, whatever, 5 years, that you think you know what it's going to look like. And I don't know if you do. I don't know if I do.
That's true.
Right. So it's more about, are you in control of that today? Because that's as much as you have, and that's as much as guaranteed. So you either got to take control of it or you don't, or you just walk around like a simulation, like the Sims, or I never played that game as a kid, but the Sims computer game, So
Yeah.
that's what it means to me, or what it looks like, at least. So,
and I posted about this a few days ago, and kind of it came up with, at least to me. So I used to feel as though happiness was, I don't know, like this place you get to where maybe you have a certain amount of money, you live in a certain area, you're doing a certain amount of things. And then I kind of realized, at least for me, to not think so much just about that, but think, maybe this is just for me, but more along the lines of, life is going to throw a lot of stuff at you. A lot of stuff is going to happen that's unexpected. And the ability to solve these problems as they come and be at peace with that. So for me, not obsessing over, oh, I just want to be happy, I just want to find happiness, but find peace, and problems are going to come and let's solve them. So it's like I've been trying to kind of do that, just for whatever reason that makes a lot more sense for me. I don't know if I'm digressing here with our whole
no, I think
topic,
I think it's
yeah.
great, because I think it all ties into itself, right?
Yeah.
And what I've had to do is be like, okay, well, because once again, man, like, I'm from Paradise, California. I moved down to the Bay, and then there's this certain image, and there's a certain way that of what good looks like,
Yeah.
right? And then you say, okay, and then and I do it, and I've done it, and I'm like, this is what it is, and this is, I have a career, and I need to progress, and all these different things. And then it's like, well, why am I not feeling a certain way?
Right.
And then,
exactly.
But what you have to really be able to do is look back at the tape, right? Better Take podcast, look at the film
That's
a little
right.
bit, and say, when have I been the happiest?
Yeah.
Right. And what did it feel like then? And what happened and why? All these different things. And then say, well, okay, I'm not gonna be able to go do that, right? But can I have that here? And so it's, who are you trying to please?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
so
100%.
I don't know. And I don't, once again, I'm speaking very confidently as if I have the silver bullet here, and I don't, but I think it's
the book of silver bullets.
Yes, one whole book. This isn't the gospel by any means, but it's I think it's something that it's worth exploring, because life is about it, adaptation. You have to adapt, and things change, and for good reason, man. And that's awesome. But I don't know.
And can we get a little deep here? This is kind of one of my last thoughts of this whole thing. So, as I mentioned in the last podcast or two, how like I didn't know if my wife was going to make it out of the hospital, when they found that mass in her lung. For listeners that are, tuning in right now, if you didn't hear the last couple of weeks. So Andy actually came to my house, flew all the way to Arizona to help. We didn't know what was going to happen with my wife. They found a mass in her lung in the hospital. It was a little bit messy. So anyways, she's getting better, which is great. But because of that incident, thinking about death a little bit, I know it sounds morbid, but just the idea of it. And I know most of us don't think about that too much, but I started contemplating death a little bit more, and then realized, and this is going back to our main point here today, or topic, excuse me, is if I'm sitting there on my deathbed one day, whenever that is, and the thought of looking back on my life and having that what if question of, what if I would have done this? Or what if I could have done this? Or I wish I did this. That is one of the most horrifying things that I can think of. Like if we could all go there for a moment, I know that sounds really weird, maybe a little creepy, but no, seriously, think about it. If we're sitting there and we look back on our life and truly think, do we want to sit there and be like, oh, I wonder what would have happened, or what if this would have happened? And to me, that is a million times worse than taking action, following through with these things, like moving or starting a new career, whatever it is, and having a little bit of risk and maybe failing and it not going well, and then learning something from those situations. I'd rather sit there on my deathbed full of failures, or as the gentleman you were speaking about earlier, that podcast, and when he said this, it just stuck with me, that he wants to be on his deathbed in a casket full of bullet holes, scars, and failures. So that was the same guy you were talking about earlier. So when he said to me, oh my gosh, like really think about that. I don't want to sit there and think I didn't try anything, or, I played it safe. Like that is horrifying to me.
Yeah, it is. And that's I was tracking it. I think it makes a ton of sense. And I think it's just not comfortable. Like, I kind of went through my life and just said, well, that happened. I just got to move on and whatever. And it's okay to think about those things, because I think what it does, like the, what if I did this or what if I did that? Because what it does is challenges you to show up differently next time, right? It challenges you for each decision to have more critical thinking and passion for whatever you're doing, right? To where you can actually do it with a purpose and not just say, well, this is how it goes. And I think all these things tie into it to where you want to, for me, I want to go out, right? I'll say that I want to go out saying like, hey, I didn't just fall into line, right? And I always challenge and not like challenge society and said, you're wrong and all these, but it's like you challenge yourself, because that's as much as you can do. And then also who you impact and what people care more about, how you made them feel than anything else. It's like not about what you said to them and say, hey, I hope you're having a good trip. It's, whatever. It's like that's really the human element. And that's the great part of life, because you have the opportunity, and that's really all it is an opportunity. So, I agree with you, man. I think it's a really good thing to talk about and just go into it, right? Might as well talk about it.
Love that. And do you have any closing thoughts for people listening with trying to escape the what if mentality?
I mean, I wish I knew the answer. But I was telling, it's actually pretty relevant, because I was talking to Allie, my wife, yesterday, and I said, every time we've just bet on ourselves, we've always won.
Oh, that's good.
Every time it's, but ourselves, us, what we stand for, who we are. Every time we've done that, right, and eliminated the noise, I call it noise. It's like the noise of the world, the noise of your brain, all these different things. Right. Every time we've done that, we've won, because it's
I love that.
Because what you believe in and what you've created and what you aspire to be is always the truest form. And at least for our marriage, we have, just like anyone else, a lot of downfalls, but every time it's just been us and we've done it because we believe in it, then it's always worked out, at least. So
that was awesome. And guys, so take action, whatever it is. Stop being so scared of the unknown and failure, and take action. And that might look a little different for every person, but instead of every day having to wake up and thinking, what if I did this? Try it. Take, even if it's a small step with whatever that is, do it and see how you feel after that. It's going to be a whole new way to live. You're going to actually feel liberated a little bit, I think. So awesome, dude. It was great having you on as my first guest co-host. Excuse me. I might have to steal you from Allie every once in a while here.
Well, yeah, it's a pleasure to be on here, man. And I apologize if I spoke a little too much here, but it's really cool what you're doing, and I support you 100% and would love to come on as much as I can, and as long as it falls in line. But if I'm in trouble, we're in trouble. That's just the only thing I'm going to tell you.
Awesome, man. And so everyone, go ahead and check out Andy at the Raider Take podcast. That's our Instagram handle. And then Twitter, is that different for you guys, or is that Raider Take also?
It is at Take Raider, I believe. Micah, who is the brains behind the operation, my brother, he controls all that. So it's at Take Raider. If you're interested in NFL, interested in the Raiders, or you just want to hear us ramble on about things, give us a shout, give us a look.
Cool. I will link all those in the show notes as always. And
appreciate
everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Mission Driven Made podcast. If you found value in the show at all today, or if it made you think just a little bit deeper about a topic, subscribe to the show. If you haven't already, leave us a 5-star review. It'll take just a couple seconds. It's also going to help grow the show tremendously. So if you can do that, it'd be greatly appreciated. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Friday. Love all you guys. And until next time, stay mission driven. Boom.